All right, we just finished up a little boxing with Bob, but one of the most important questions I've been getting asked recently is how low can you go with your calories on a cut? Simply, what's the threshold? What is that? What's the limit as far as how low you can go with your calories? So this is a really, really good question because ultimately, if your goal is fat loss and getting lean, the most important thing is to dial in your calories. That's the calorie deficit is what creates fat loss. And if you want to burn more fat, you have to go into a bigger calorie deficit. So what really is the limit? Now, let me preface and say that to give some context, I'm 29 now. I started really cutting back when I was 18, 19, and I first really started focusing on, more extreme, aggressive fat loss diets. I played around with low calorie diets like 14 to 1600, 16 to 1800, which are pretty extreme deficits for someone my size, around 180 pounds. And they were pretty damn brutal. They were pretty damn brutal to stick to. And really that ultimately brings up my first point. And my first point is this. Human beings, pretty much all of us, we're not that great at cutting. We're not that good at losing fat, especially those that need to lose fat. The people that just effortlessly stay at a low body fat without, focusing on the nutrition plan, there may be the exception. But for most of us that actually tend to eat quite a bit, it's really hard to lose fat. It's really hard to be in a calorie deficit. The first really thing to address is at a certain point, you have to be able to stick to the diet. Not for a day, not for a week, not for a month, but long enough to lose the fat that you want to lose. So if you are 16% body fat and you want to get down to 10%, you have about 12 pounds of pure fat you need to drop. That can take you 3 months. You can try and do it faster, but realistically speaking, that will take you 12 weeks if you follow through. The point there is that you have to actually be able to stick to your diet. And the biggest issue with going too low, and I'm going to give out numbers and examples very soon, but the biggest issue with going too low in calories is that, hey, I've been in this scene for the longest time ever. Even the most committed individuals, even the experts, even the people that are coaching fitness often can barely stick to a low calorie diet. They just can't do it. Even in controlled studies, people can't even follow it unless they're literally given their meals. That's something to keep in mind. There was a military study done on literally a 50% basically deficit. So let's say you burn 2,800 calories. They had these individuals in a study on 1,400 calories per day. At a certain point, they were cutting off their fingers to get out of the study. That's how brutal a very low calorie diet is. It's simply impossible to follow for any length of time. And, furthermore, besides the sheer adherence, let's say you're Christian Bale and you can just turn on that robotic switch and eat a 1,200 or 1,400 calorie diet per day. Well, you know what? You are going to be sacrificing lean body mass. If you go too extreme with your calorie deficit, you will be burning off muscle tissue. If you go too extreme with your deficit, your hormonal levels will plummet. Your testosterone levels will plummet. Your body is in a acute degree of breakdown. You're breaking down body fat, you're breaking down, muscle tissue. You're in a catabolic state. Hormonal levels will come down. Your metabolism will get hit. Now, there's some debate as far as how much your metabolism can decline, X, Y, and Z. It can actually decline quite a bit. It will never decline to the point where, oh my God, you're eating 1,200 calories and you're gaining weight. That's impossible. But when you're starving yourself or in a huge deficit for weeks on end, leptin levels decline. Your body tries to conserve energy. It's a adaptational mechanism to survive. That's how our ancestors largely were able to work through periods of food shortages. They would focus on conserving energy. Of course, you have your resting metabolic rate, which burns the most amount of calories per day you burn is actually, you would have burned them if you were resting in bed all day. That's your resting metabolic rate. For someone of my size, it's about 2,000 calories. The other, 40%, 800 is from movement and exercise and walking around, X, Y, and Z, and even the thermogenic effect of eating, which is about 10%, but I've digressed. So we know for certain that going too extreme by eating half of your body's energy needs, the benefits are completely outweighed by the cons as far as losing muscle mass. And again, what's the point of losing 20 pounds if half of that is lean body mass? It makes no sense. You put in all that work and only half of it really counts. And then you're losing your precious muscle you have to regain. So we know that amount of a deficit is too big. Now, one of my most popular courses was my aggressive fat loss program. That's what I released a few years ago, 4 years ago, and we've had tons and tons and tons of transformations on that program. The calorie intake in that was pretty low, and I've done that course. I've gotten lean on that course, but I've not done that in a long, long time because I don't like going that low in calories. When your goal is to stay lean for life and really, maintain a lean body fat year after year after year, you really start to realize that going too low in calories is counterproductive. It can be a way to motivate yourself and turbocharge your results for 8 to 12 weeks to really get you in the groove. And there's certain things in my aggressive fat loss that make the program work so well because I pretty much spoon feed you exactly what to eat based on your height and weight. I give you the meals. You don't have to think about it. You just follow, you execute, you get locked in, and then boom, you stick to it. And the calorie intake in that program is roughly 11 calories per pound of goal body weight. So let's say you're 230 pounds and your goal is to get down to 200. That's about 2,200 calories. And that is what I consider an aggressive deficit, an aggressive calorie deficit. That is the lowest I would ever go. And you could go a little bit lower, but you're not going to really lose much more fat at that point. Like once you're in a decent deficit, like a big deficit, you're not going to lose much more fat. So if that 220 or 30 pound guy was doing 2,200 versus to 1,900, the additional fat loss would be so minuscule. You'd start to get some more downsides, and the amount, like how much harder it would be to stay satisfied and full on 1,900 for a guy that's 230 versus 2,200, that extra 300 calories will make it so much easier. So at a certain point, you start to hit the law of diminishing returns, where going lower and lower in calories, you get more downsides. It's way less enjoyable, and it just makes sense to, stick to a little bit more calories, which again, that's 11 calories per pound of goal body weight. And that's within reason. If you're 230 pounds, you wouldn't pick 150 pounds, like take it one step at a time. Now, if you're 180 pounds and your goal is to cut down to 150, you're really looking at 1,650. And again, like that is tough. I mean, obviously 150 is a low weight, but for me, if I want to cut down to 170, I'm really looking at like almost 1,900 calories. And that's just, for me, that's just very, 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 very tough. Now, this really brings me to my next point, which is the leaner you are, the harder it is to be in a calorie deficit. Meaning, if you have 30 pounds of fat to lose, you have tons of fat, your body is like, bring on the food shortage. I'm ready for this. I've accumulated all this extra fat. I can handle months of low food. Now, if you have abs, if you can literally see your abs, your body's not really designed to be in a bigger calorie deficit. And you have no idea how many times I've failed to cut from 10% body fat to 6-7. Over in the last 10 years, I've actually part of the reason why I've developed these courses and made them so effective and that produce so many transformations is because I failed so much and I refined until I got it right. And largely what I mean by got it right is that create a system that is enjoyable, that I feel good on, that I can stick to, because I have a hard time sticking to most diet plans, which is why, I'm so proud of the course I've made, because I'm like, holy shit, I can follow through on this. It's easy and I get as lean as I want. But you have to understand that you probably are better at cutting than me. You probably are better at, on a traditional plan, you're probably better at cutting than me. And so the leaner you are, the more sensitive and careful you have to become. And the more I started to gravitate towards taking it a little bit slower, the better results I got. And also I was surprised because I'm actually losing fat at a pretty good rate. Most of the reason why people plateau on their fat loss plan isn't that they're not going low enough in calories. Well, technically, but it isn't that they aren't it isn't that they're not going low enough in calories. It's just their tracking's not good. So they plan to have 2,000 calories, but they're really eating 2,500. And if they actually focus on dialing in their tracking, making it laser focused, get that tracking dialed in. And part of getting tracking dialed in is realizing how hard it is to have tracking dialed in, meaning you have to eat very similar every day. It's very hard. There's a lot of decision fatigue. There's a lot of variance. So the more simple your diet is, the easier and the better. Not even the easier, but the more real your tracking is. You have to understand that. You have to. If you're trying to rotate through 90 different meals, it's going to be brutal. So get your tracking dialed, and sometimes you're surprised about, wow, I'm not even in that big of a deficit, but I'm getting leaner, I'm seeing results. And so remember, we have to optimize for everything, which isn't just losing fat, it's actually maintaining and supporting training performance. So you need to maintain your muscle mass and support your training performance. So if you go too low, then you start to take away from that, okay? So if fat loss is here and muscle building is here, if you push the scale too much into a deficit, you start to lose out on this side. So you want to find the sweet spot. And ideally, you want a nutrition plan where you're not counting down the days until you are until you're like, you know, back in the day, dieting, the whole idea was like, it was so brutal, you'd have to have a cheat day every week to get through it. And that never worked for me because I can't suffer for 6 days to enjoy 1 day of gluttony. Like, I don't even, you know, it backfires. But you need to make the diet something where you can enjoy it every day. And if you go too low in calories, you can't enjoy it. So really, in the last year, you know, actually a year ago, I launched the Movie Star Body program, and that was my latest findings on the best way to get lean, especially cutting to single-digit body fat. And really what I found was that a 400 calorie deficit is as good as it gets. That extra versus a 500, like that extra 100 calories, it optimizes everything. The training, the muscle mass, the retention, the dietary adherence, the enjoyable factor. And so the 400 calorie deficit, funny enough, from my research with clients, people gone through this program, it's weird, they're still losing 4 or 5 pounds of fat per month, even though they're in this, on paper, 400 calorie deficit. But their adherence is way better, their tracking is way better, they stick to it, and largely they have more energy because they're eating a bit more food, that they're probably moving around more. So I actually found that, like, literally when you have like just 10, 12 pounds of fat to lose, don't do aggressive unless you know, Hollywood's knocking on your freaking roof or door and telling you you have 6 weeks to get in shape for this movie, you gotta lose 10 pounds. Don't do an aggressive fat loss diet. Take your time, do a 400 calorie deficit. The goal isn't to get to your goal isn't to get to your dream body as fast as possible. The goal is to improve each week. Remember that. It's not to get your goal as fast as possible, it's to improve each week. And part of being able to take the slower road, which 99.99% of the time is the faster road, is accepting yourself now. It's saying, hey, you know what? Here I am right now. I'm 22% body fat, or I'm 15% body fat. I can't see my abs. My face isn't lean. I want to be at my goal so bad, but let me just accept me right now. Okay, here's where we are. I accept it. And how cool would it be just to be 1% better next week? Just be a little bit leaner. Let's revel in those small wins. And that's the mindset that's going to get you to your goal once and for all and keep you there for life. So don't tell yourself, oh, I hate how I look. It's going to set you up in this circle that I went around so much. And you have no idea how many people I snapped out of that circle who are going super extreme binging. And so, like, really the motif here is that the real extreme approach might seem like the faster one, but it's not. Time and time again, the same people are just trying to lose that same 20 pounds, or maybe it's 10 pounds or 20 pounds, even some diet experts, people that were my mentors. I see them, and they're always, for 5-6 years, they're always talking about these very extreme diets, crash diets, and they still have to lose the same 10 pounds. They don't even get to their goal. They're always trying to lose that same 10 pounds or even 8 pounds or 12 pounds. And so really the fast road is really the slow road. So if you have, 20 pounds, 30 plus pounds to lose, you can go into aggressive deficit and pick your goal weight, times it by 11. And if you can stick to that calorie intake and you're satisfied on it and you feel good, that's fine. Go do that until you have that last 15 pounds of fat to lose. Okay. Then you got it. And then oftentimes people are going lower in calories. They get stuck. They hit this wall, and all of a sudden their metabolism slowing down a little bit, but then really they're just eating more and they just can't bust past this plateau. This happened. If you go to my Instagram, I'm posting the most insane transformations. One of the guys, Bruce Lean, Leean, got insanely shredded on my program. He cut 35 pounds, but he had that last 10 pounds and he couldn't get through it because he was doing the aggressive fat loss calories. He was going a little too low. And then he finally went on the Movie Star, and boom, just the fat started moving again. It's really interesting how that happens. But so, to answer your question, 11 calories per pound of goal body weight is the lowest, and that's really designed for people that have 20 to 30 plus pounds to lose. And again, it really depends if you can enjoy it, if you're satisfied on it. If I have a client, they have 35 pounds to lose, I would rather just take it a little bit slower. You can go a bit more than a 400 calorie deficit, but basically like a 400 calorie deficit from where their target weight would be. So, if they're 200 pounds, but their ideal physique is 160, boom, around 160, they're going to be burning on average 2,400 calories a day. So I put them on 2,000. And so, at the current status, they're going to be burning more than 2,400. So it's being bigger, but as they get to their goal and they shed weight, their metabolism will fall into place. It's about maintaining as much muscle as possible, looking and feeling your best, and really building on something for life where you can, where you're constantly improving and you just feel great on it and you're enjoying every single day to your goal physique. That's the goal of my program. I want you to enjoy each and every day to your goal physique. That's the only way you're going to be able to get there and maintain it for life. There's no other way. If you can't enjoy each day to your physique, it's just you're building a house of cards that's going to come crashing down. So there are your deliverables. I spelled it out for you. You can go 11 calories per pound of goal body weight if you got a bit more weight to lose, and if that feels good. If you want to take it a bit slower and you're finding you're a little bit hungry on it, then do the other method I mentioned. And as you get close to your goal, 15 pounds out, 400 calorie deficit. Maintenance is predictably 15 calories per pound of current body weight. You might have to adjust every time you lose about 15 pounds, but for the most part, and that's why I said, like, when you're 15 pounds out, 400 calorie deficit, it will get you as lean as you want. Get your tracking right. Make sure you're getting your 10,000 steps, hit your workouts. If you want the full-blown strategy with the 3 phases, we just created the brand new Kinobody Physique quiz based on my latest programs. You can hit the link somewhere on this video or in the description bio and take that quiz. And again, thanks so much for watching this content. Like, it sounds pretty simple, but you know, most people in the fitness industry do not know this, and this took me like years and years and years and years and years and years and years of trial and error to figure out. So I wish I had this video 10 years ago. Thank you. Peace. I've put together an incredible protocol to transform your body, but first I need to find out, what is your body type? Are you skinny? Are you bulky? Are you skinny fat? Are you in good shape or kind of average? It all depends on where you are right now, and I will transform you like a movie star. So hit the link around here, take the physique quiz, and I'm gonna show you how to strip off fat, gain muscle, and completely recomposition your physique.